The number one rule in search engine optimization, the one that keeps small businesses out of the game, it's a lie. Seriously. So what if the most profitable keywords aren't the ones you're chasing, but the ones your biggest competitors are deliberately ignoring? That question, that right there, is the key to everything we're about to get into. For years, we've been sold this idea that success in search is all about winning the big battles for the popular high-volume keywords. But that's a paradox, right? It's an illusion that hides a much, much more powerful truth. The real way to rank and to actually make money, well, it lies where nobody else is even looking. And in this explainer, we're going to find that path. Okay, so let's start by just taking apart this foundational lie. The conventional wisdom, what everyone tells you, is to find what people search for the most and then just try to rank for it. And yeah, it sounds logical, but in practice, it's a trap. It's designed to make you fail. It's a game that's completely rigged in favor of the giants, and it's about time we stopped playing. Look at this. This slide lays out the two different worlds of SEO perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the old way. Think of it as this, bloody battlefield for what we call fathead keywords. Those are the short, super generic terms like coffee or running shoes. Yeah, they promise huge volume, but what they really deliver is just endless competition against brands with basically infinite budgets. It is a war you just can't win. But then, on the right, that's the smart way. This is the path of the long tail. These are the longer, super specific questions that don't get a ton of searches on their own, but when you add them all up, they represent billions of untapped chances to completely dominate profitable niches. See, this isn't about battling big brands, it's about making them totally irrelevant. Now, this shift in thinking isn't just some clever little tactic. It's something we have to do because of a real crisis in the search world, the crisis of keyword difficulty. I mean, if you've ever tried to get a new website to rank for anything, you felt this pain. You create amazing content, you check all the boxes and crickets. You go nowhere. So let's dig into exactly why that happens. And here's the problem in a nutshell. This chart says it all. A typical big brand, they might have a domain authority score of, say, 95 out of 100. Your new site, you're probably starting down here at a 10. The gap is just massive. So trying to target the same keywords is like showing up to a gunfight with a knife. Google's algorithm is built on trust, on authority, which makes it nearly impossible for a new player to break through on those competitive terms. That's the unwinnable game. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, there's a twist. While all these big brands were busy building up their authority, the way we search totally changed. We stopped typing like robots, coffee shop. We started searching like actual humans. We started asking our phones, what's the best organic coffee for a French press near me? This huge shift toward conversational, really specific phrases, well, that's what created the exact opportunity we're about to jump on. The majority of searches today actually happen in the long tail. And that right there brings us to the solution, a strategy that was born from this exact problem designed to just sidestep that authority gap completely. We call it the unicorn keyword strategy, and it's built on a really simple but really powerful idea. Go where the competition isn't. Find those valuable search queries that the big guys are just too big and too slow to even notice. So what in the world is a unicorn keyword? Let's break this down, because every single word here matters. First, it's low competition. This is the big one. It's non-negotiable. We are actively hunting for keywords that have a low difficulty score. Second, it's high intent. This means the person searching isn't just kicking tires. They are close to making a decision. And third, it's a long-tail query, a specific phrase. When you put those three things together, you get this incredibly powerful tool that lets even a brand new site get fast, meaningful rankings that actually turn into customers. Okay, so how do we actually find these things? The core of it is a really simple three-step system. Step 1, identify. Find those long, specific phrases your perfect customer is asking right before they're ready to buy. Step 2, filter. And this part is absolutely critical. You take that list and you look for a low keyword difficulty score in a weak search results page, what we call the SERP, that's full of outdated or just plain bad answers. And finally, step 3, execute. Once you find one of those vulnerable keywords, you create content that is, hands down, the absolute best answer to that person's very specific question. This brings us to the central concept that makes this whole strategy tick, the competitive gap. See, it's not just about finding a keyword with a low difficulty score. A true unicorn opportunity, that happens when a keyword has low difficulty and the pages ranking at the top are doing a terrible job answering the user's question. That combination creates this low friction entry point. It's basically a signal from Google saying, hey, we're looking for a better answer here, and you can be the one to give it to them. So we've talked about the what and how, but to really get this, you have to understand the why. This whole strategy is so effective because it's not about gaming an algorithm. It's about tapping into some really fundamental things about human psychology and behavior. It's about understanding the person on the other side of that screen. The first psychological pillar is what we call high transactional intent. Think about it. Someone typing coffee is just browsing, but a person typing best organic whole bean coffee for French press, well, they are in a completely different headspace. The amount of detail in their search is a huge flashing signal. It tells us they've done their homework, they've narrowed their choices, and now they're at the very end of the line, just looking for that final bit of info to push them over the edge and make a purchase. Targeting that person is infinitely more valuable than targeting the person who's just starting out. The second pillar is this really cool psychological principle called cognitive fluency. It sounds complicated, but all it means is that our brains like things that are easy. We prefer information that's easy to process. So when a user asks a super specific question and your page gives them the exact perfect answer, it creates this feeling of relief, of clarity. You've just made their life easier. And that little reduction in mental effort, it does more than just feel good. It subconsciously builds trust and confidence in you and your brand. You're not just another search result anymore. You're the helpful expert. So here's the key takeaway. You have to stop thinking about broad topics and start obsessing over specific pain points. Just ask yourself this one question. What is the very specific, immediate problem my customer is trying to solve right now? The answer to that question? That's where your unicorn keywords are hiding. All right, let's turn all this theory into action. We're going to move from just understanding the concept to having a real, concrete blueprint that you can use to go out and find and dominate these keywords for yourself. This is your game plan. Okay, first and most important rule, define intent first. Look, creating content takes time, it takes money. So you have to be absolutely ruthless about where you spend your effort. You've got to focus exclusively on searches that scream commercial or transactional intent. Someone asking how to fix leaking faucet handle is way more valuable than someone asking history of faucets. One of them is looking to buy parts or hire someone right now. That's where you need to be, because that's where the investment in your content pays off immediately. Principle number 2. This is where you become a detective. Once you have a keyword you think might work, you have to mine the search engine results page for gaps. You're looking for signs of weakness. Is the top content from like 2017? That's a massive opportunity. Are the top results just a bunch of forums like Reddit or Quora? That's Google basically telling you it can't find a real expert on this topic, so it's just settling for what users are saying. Or maybe you see other small, low-authority sites already ranking on page 1. That is stone-cold proof that you can break in too. These are all giant green lights telling you there's a clear competitive gap. And the final principle is this. You have to engineer a perfect intent match. It's not enough to just find the gap. You have to fill it better than anybody else. Your content has to be the single best, most complete, most helpful answer to that user's specific question. If they're asking for the best organic coffee for a French press, your article needs to cover exactly that. You compare the beans, you explain the perfect grind, and you guide them to a decision they can feel great about. No fluff, just the answer. So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Forget about trying to rank for 100 different things. Your goal is so much simpler, and it's actually achievable. Pick one specific, high-intent, low-competition question and create the #1 best answer for it on the entire internet. Then you just do it again and again. That is how you build an empire, not by fighting giants, but by conquering 1,000 tiny, undefended territories that they don't even know exist. And really, that's the heart of it. We need to completely reframe how we think about marketing. It's not about being the loudest or trying to force people through some sales funnel. It's about listening for those quiet, specific questions and then pulling people toward you by giving them undeniable value. The unicorn keyword strategy works because it's not a trick. It's a system for finding the exact questions that only you are perfectly positioned to answer. And when you do that, you don't just win a ranking, you earn a customer for life.